Life can feel like a never-ending to-do list. Whether you're juggling school, work, family, or old tree, there's always something waiting for your attention. You finish one task, and it feels like 10 more pop up. The emails keep piling up, projects never seem to end, and there's always something you should be doing. It's exhausting, right? And no matter how much we do, it often feels like there's always more to be done. The truth is, we can't avoid responsibilities. Life just keeps coming at us. But what we can do is to learn how to handle it in a way that doesn't leave us drowning. The goal isn't to do more, but to do things in a way that makes life feel more manageable. That's why having a solid task management system is a game changer. In this video, I will introduce you to my favorite system for managing tasks efficiently, David Allen's GTD, Getting Things Done. Honestly, the system itself is way easier than its pronunciation. Before we dive into GTD, oh god. When it comes to productivity, I believe that there are 3 key pillars: time management, task management, and note-taking. Since I've already covered note-taking, specifically the Zettelkasten method using Obsidian, today we're diving into tasks. I discovered GTD 3 years ago and I still use it daily. It's not just a task management system, it's a complete productivity framework, but in this video I'll focus on its task management aspect and why it works so well. Before we dive into GTD, let's talk about what makes a task management system truly effective. A good system doesn't have to be complicated. At its core, it should keep all your to-dos in one reliable place, allow you to capture new tasks instantly, organize everything in a way that makes sense to you, encourage regular review and maintenance, make it easy to return to your tasks and complete them consistently. If your system checks all of these boxes, managing your tasks becomes effortless. Okay, listen, I get it. It might sound like a lot of work, but don't worry. GTD is actually simple to set up and even easier to maintain. Once you have it in place, you will never have to worry about forgetting important tasks or feeling overwhelmed. Instead, you'll just have a trusted system that keeps your life in order. Let's dive in. What is GTD? GTD, or Getting Things Done, is a task management system created by David Allen. At its core, it's about clearing your mind by capturing everything you need to do in a trusted system, organizing it efficiently, and taking action without stress. Instead of relying on memory, GTD helps you to break tasks down, prioritize effectively, and stay on top of things without feeling overwhelmed. It's not about doing more. It's about managing what's already on your plate in a way that feels effortless. If you want to dive deeper and get the full picture of how the system works, I highly recommend reading David Allen's book, Getting Things Done. It's actually a pretty great read, and you'll have a much better understanding of the concepts that I'm going to talk about today. To make things a bit easier, I'll be sharing a flowchart from David Allen's book. I'll walk you through the key concepts of GTD and highlight all the essential details using this image. Tools. GTD is tool agnostic, meaning you can use any app or even just pen and paper. Personally, I use Todoist because it's simple, but you can go with whatever works best for you. This video isn't about tools, so I won't be doing a full Todoist tutorial. I'll just show you how my setup looks and I will leave it at that. Since most to-do apps work in a similar way, everything I cover here can be applied to whatever tool you prefer. You can use apps like TickTick, Asana, Notion, or Things, or any other app that you like. You can also opt for pen and paper. My focus in this video is on the principles of GTD and the steps you need to take to get started, not the tools. Let's talk about 5 steps of GTD. The first step is capture. Our brains are not designed to hold and track every task we need to do. Our ancestors focused on immediate survival rather than managing deadlines, appointments, or to-do lists. In the modern world, however, we juggle countless responsibilities, and it's only natural that things slip through the cracks. This is why capture stage in GTD is so important. By getting everything out of your head and into a trusted system, you ensure that no idea or task is lost. This is also where open loops come in. Those are unfinished tasks, ideas, or commitments that constantly linger in your mind, demanding attention. Open loops drain mental energy and distract you from focusing on what's important. In the capture phase, your goal is to capture everything, including open loops, and get them out of your head. Writing them down ensures that they don't take up mental space and that you can address them later. The capture stage is all about collecting everything that's on your mind: tasks, ideas, reminders, anything that catches your attention. And when I say everything, I mean every little thing. Even if something seems irrelevant and unimportant, still capture it. The goal here is to get all your tasks into one reliable system. The important thing is consistency, keeping everything in one place so nothing gets lost and forgotten. Your tool of choice must be accessible everywhere. I prefer to do it digitally because I always have my phone with me and I have the app on every device that I own. If I was to switch to a notebook, let's say, then it would be a problem for me because I'm not one of those people who carries around notebooks. When you capture tasks, don't worry about categorizing or organizing them right away. Just write everything down and put it in your inbox. The goal is to clear your mind so you're free to focus on what's actually important. Organizing comes later in the clarify and organize stages. Right now, just focus on getting everything out of your head. So you might wonder, why is it necessary to capture even the small, seemingly unimportant tasks? The reason is simple. Your mind is for having ideas, not for holding them. If you try to remember everything, you'll get distracted and lose focus. This is where the Zeigarnik effect comes into play. Unfinished tasks linger in your mind, draining your energy and attention. By capturing them, you free up mental space and prevent them from constantly nagging at you. Think of your brain like a computer. If its storage is completely full, there's no room for new files or creative work. Similarly, when your mind is cluttered with tasks, it has less capacity for fresh ideas or deep thinking. Capturing everything ensures that your brain stays clear and open to creativity. A helpful method in the capture stage is mind sweep, which is essentially just a brain dump. Write down everything you can think of: tasks, worries, random ideas, childhood dreams, anything really. The key is to switch off your inner filter and capture everything, no matter how small or irrelevant it seems. At this stage, it's also a good idea to scan your environment for hidden tasks. Go through your files, emails, photos, and devices. Anything that might contain unfinished to-do items. Check your drawers, workspace, and go through your house. Some tasks tend to hide in unexpected places, and scanning your environment ensures nothing slips through the cracks. At this stage, your inbox must be filled with tasks. If you have hundreds of unfinished tasks, then you're on the right track. Clarify. In the capture stage, we didn't worry about how or why tasks ended up in our inbox. Our goal was simply to get everything out of our heads and externalized. Now, in the clarify stage, it's time to process those tasks, decide if they require action, and eliminate any ambiguity. When capturing tasks in a hurry, we often jot them down in a vague or abstract terms. This can create confusion later when we return to them. So, for example, let's say you need to write an essay for your psychology class on confirmation bias due next Wednesday. It involves preliminary research, multiple drafts, and final revisions, a complex task requiring multiple steps. If you're like most people, you might capture it as psych essay and move on. That's fine in the capture stage, but now, during clarify, we need to break it down into actionable steps. Here's how you might refine it. Description of the task should be as detailed as possible. Write psychology essay on confirmation bias is the name. And then you would create subtasks. Research confirmation bias and gather sources. Create an outline. Write the first draft. Edit and refine arguments. Proofread and finalize. Submit the essay. Why should you clarify every single to-do item? After all, you already know what to do, right? Well, in my experience, many people struggle to start tasks not because they lack motivation, but because they don't know how to begin. When a task feels too big or vague, it becomes overwhelming, making procrastination more likely. Breaking tasks into smaller, actionable steps removes that mental barrier. Instead of facing a daunting project, you have a clear, manageable action plan. This isn't just GTD principle. It's a widely recommended strategy in productivity research, as well as studies in ADHD and procrastination. Experts consistently emphasize that chunking tasks into smaller steps reduces resistance and makes it easier to follow through. When describing a task, start with the verb to make it more actionable. Instead of simply writing the name of the book, say finish reading Crime and Punishment and add a deadline to motivate yourself. This makes the task clearer and more actionable. When you clarify to-do items, ask yourself, is the task actionable? If it's not actionable, you have a few options. The first one is deleting it. If the task doesn't need to be done, just get rid of it. If it's something you might want to do eventually, but don't need to focus on it right now, put it in the someday maybe folder to revisit later. If the task is just information or something that you don't need to act on, but might want to refer to or review later, store it in the reference folder. If the task is actionable, you need to decide what type of action it requires. Is it a project? A project in GTD is anything that requires more than one action step to complete. For example, if your task is to plan a vacation, this is a project because it involves multiple steps. You need to break it down into smaller tasks. Is it a next action? A next action is a very next physical step you need to take to move the task forward. If it's a single task that can be completed right away, it's considered a next action. Now let's talk about the next stage. Organize. Clarifying and organizing usually happen together, so don't think of them as two separate steps. As you start to clarify what each task really is, you will naturally begin to organize it in categories that make sense for you. Organize. Organize is a step where you actually decide what to do with the task based on its actionability. In this stage, we're putting everything in the right place. That's where the 2-minute rule comes in. If the task will take you 2 minutes or less to complete, you should do it immediately instead of putting it in your system. Tasks with deadlines go straight to your calendar. If something is non-negotiable and has a specific time, add it as an event. Now that Todoist has a calendar feature, I can add tasks directly there. But before that, I used to rely on Google Calendar for that. If tasks require multiple steps, they go into projects. I've organized my projects into areas like work, personal, learning, fun, productivity to make things simpler. But you can structure your projects however works best for you. If the task is something that needs more time or attention, you defer it by scheduling it or adding it to a next actions list for later. If it's something that someone else needs to do, then you delegate it. If you're waiting for someone else to complete a task or provide you with information, you place it in the waiting for list. This helps you to keep track of things you're waiting on, so you can follow up when necessary. Non-urgent tasks without deadlines go into someday maybe folder. This is one of my favorite folders because it's where I store everything that I want to do in life. For me, someday maybe folder is like a bucket list. Mine contains hundreds of tasks, but I don't worry about them because I trust my system to keep track of them for me. Organizing by context. You can further organize your tasks by context, a concept that involves grouping tasks based on where you are, the tools you're using, or even your energy levels. While this may seem like extra work, it will make things more manageable in the long run. Here are a couple of ways you can organize by context. Location-based context. Work, university, home. You can use locations that you visit the most. Energy level based context. High energy, that's for tasks that require focus and concentration. And low energy. Tasks that can be done when you're feeling drained, like after work or school when you don't feel like doing much. Tool-based context. Computer, phone, tablet, or even a Kindle. Or any other tool that you might be using. We'll dive into the importance of organizing by context in the later chapters. For now, let's talk about maintaining your system and ensuring it stays organized and up to date. Review. Like any system, GTD requires regular maintenance. Without consistent upkeep, things can start to fall apart. That's why it's important to revisit your system on a regular basis to ensure everything stays on track. The best way to maintain your system is by checking in daily and weekly. Personally, I make it a habit to review my system every morning, right after I wake up and before I start working. Here's what I do. I open my Todoist and I scan through all of my tasks. If I notice anything missing, I add the necessary task. If I spot tasks that are no longer relevant, I delete them or reschedule them for later. This quick daily review ensures that my tasks are up to date and aligned with my current priorities. And of course, weekly reviews. Weekly reviews are an absolute necessity for maintaining an effective productivity system. It's not just about clearing out tasks, but it's about resetting your mind. It gives you a chance to catch up on anything you might have missed or forgotten during the week. It also helps you to align your priorities for the upcoming days. Go through every open loop that you might possibly have. Don't forget to take a step back and look at the bigger picture during your weekly reviews. Think about your goals and aspirations and think what you can do about them on a weekly and daily basis. Once a week, I go through my Todoist account and do a complete reset. I check all of my projects, ensuring they're still relevant and organized. I review all tasks, subtasks, updating or removing anything that's no longer needed. I go through my tags, filters to ensure everything is properly organized. By doing this, I prevent my system from becoming cluttered with unnecessary tasks, making sure it's streamlined and ready for the week ahead. Engage. Last but not least, let's talk about the final step, engage. There's no point in having a productivity system if you're not actually following through with your tasks. This is where the rubber meets the road, where action happens. At this stage, you need to make sure you're picking the right tasks to execute based on your priorities and current context. Context plays a huge role in GTD. You can filter your tasks by location, energy levels, or tools you have available. For example, if you're at home, and your computer is nearby, you can filter by tags like computer or home and focus on tasks that are relevant to that environment. This keeps you from wasting time deciding what to do next and ensures that you're being productive at the moment. Another important factor is your energy level. Some tasks require more mental energy and focus, while others can be done with less effort. If you've just finished a long day at work and you're feeling drained, it's best to focus on low-energy tasks. This could be administrative tasks, easy emails, or anything that doesn't demand a lot of brain power. On the flip side, when you're feeling energized and ready to take on a more challenging work, choose tasks that require deeper thinking and focus. The trick is to match the task with how you're feeling in that moment. If you're tired, don't force yourself to tackle something demanding. Instead, choose something that you can get done with minimal effort. The goal of the engage phase is simple. Take intentional action. You've already clarified, organized, and reviewed your tasks, so now it's time to execute. This stage is about taking the right actions in the right time. When you do this, the GTD system will start work for you, not the other way around. So before this video ends, I'm going to give you a pretty quick tour of my Todoist account. The reason why I'm doing this is because in my last Zettelkasten video, a lot of people asked me to show how I use Obsidian. So in this video, I'm going to show you how I use Todoist. And it's going to be super short because there's not much to show. As I told you before, GTD is pretty easy. And once you have your system set, everything else just becomes a second nature. So the first thing that I see when I open my Todoist account is obviously my inbox. All of my new tasks go here. When I do my daily reviews in the mornings, I go to Today section and I just write everything that I need to do today. I group my tasks according to projects, and that way it's really easy for me to see everything on one page. I don't really use the upcoming tab. I generally use it in the calendar view because it just makes it easier to see everything. Okay, so now let's talk about the projects that I have. Projects are one of the most important places in my Todoist account. I have 9 projects, and Todoist allows you to have 5 projects on a free plan. I think you can easily get by with 5 projects, but I prefer to use 9. So as you can see, I have personal, work, content, it's for YouTube. Then productivity. In productivity, I generally have tasks like resetting my productivity system or checking my note-taking apps. I also have a project called Learning, and I have all of my books and courses that I take in there. Fun is about hobbies and entertainment, movies that I want to watch, TV shows that I need to catch up on, hobbies that I want to practice. Buy is a pretty random project that I have to take notes of everything I need to buy in the short term, like groceries, for instance. Focus areas is about my long-term goals. And as I told you before, one of my favorite folders, Someday Maybe folder, where I store probably hundreds, if not more, goals, tasks, dreams, everything that I want to do one day. In the past, I used to have Someday Maybe not as a project, but as a tag, and it was a horrible idea because having those tasks, non-urgent tasks, in a separate folder makes it super easy to understand. But when they are mixed with other tasks, for instance, in personal or in content or even in like learning, it gets super confusing and your system becomes cluttered. So this is how I use my projects. Again, it's very simple. Now let's talk about filters and labels. So when it comes to priorities, I only have urgent and important. Urgent is for tasks that I need to get done super quickly and urgently, and important are tasks that are not urgent but important. And when I was describing those filters, I was inspired by the Eisenhower matrix. So now let's discuss labels. As you can see, I don't use every single label that I mentioned in the video. There's no energy labels, low energy, high energy. I don't use those. I used them in the past, but they're not effective for me, so I stopped using them. I have a next action tag. I have reoccurring events. I don't exactly remember if David Allen talked about something like reoccurring events, but I feel like it's very useful to have that tag in your system because we all have reoccurring events in our lives, and having them collected in one place is quite useful. I have reference and review tag, which is about material that I need to review later or reference somewhere. I have a tag called watch. It's similar to reference/review, but it's about videos. Sometimes I'm very low energy and I can't really read. I don't want to do anything that requires a lot of brain power. So in those moments, it's useful to have something to watch, like videos, maybe some lectures, or even something entertaining. And in those moments, I can just click on this tag and see what I can watch in my spare time. So waiting for tag is pretty useful because I don't have to remember everything that I'm waiting for. When it comes to location, I only have two tags, home and errands. Home is everything that I do at home, and errands is everything that I can get done in the city. When I was a university student, I had a university tag. Now that I graduated, I don't need this anymore. And I also have tools that I use, which is my computer, tablet, phone, and Kindle. These tags are enough for me. So there are 11 tags. These are enough for me to organize my system. I have 2 filters, 9 projects, and that's basically it. My system is pretty easy. If I maintain it correctly, then it works perfectly well. Now that you know how my system looks, we can return to the video. In a nutshell, GTD system is easier to implement than it might seem at first. Once you grasp the core principles and make it a habit, managing your tasks becomes much smoother and stress-free. To recap, in the capture stage, we collect everything that's on our mind. In the clarify stage, we decide what each task means and what action is needed. In the organize stage, sort tasks into the appropriate categories. Reflect stage requires regularly reviewing and adjusting your system. And in the last step, engage, take action with purpose and focus. Master these stages and you'll find that your productivity and task management flow effortlessly. I hope this video gave you some valuable insights and that you will give this method a try. I'd love to hear your thoughts or experiences with it, so feel free to share in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.